It started around 1773. And in 1774, a Christian man, family man, plantation man, farmer, he was compelled to make a statement to the oppressors of his people in the colonies, out of his own pocket. Today's value, thousands of dollars. He boxed up tea and he sent it to Boston along with others. See, they were selling goods and it was going to their oppressors, and the taxes were so high and that it was just beyond their ability to keep up. He wanted to go back home and work on his farm and raise his family and that, but he was a praying man. Not only was he a praying man, but in the journals that he kept, there were times in the wee hours of the morning when this man would get up and pray that the Spirit of the God that he trusted in and that he believed brought about the founding of this nation would come on him, and he would begin to speak in a language that the others around him didn't understand, couldn't interpret it. This didn't happen once, it happened almost without fail. What he wanted to do just as an individual and a man, the Spirit said, you can't do it. And this man picked up a cause. It was a cause of freedom. His name was George Washington. By 1776, a group of men got together and penned one of the greatest documents in the history of mankind. The Constitution of the United States was put together by men of the Spirit. Oh, you're hearing otherwise in our public schools and that, but they were Christian men. They were men of the Spirit. They were men who wanted freedom for all mankind, not just for a select group. They were tired of the oppression. George Washington never had more than 14,000 men under his command, and there were times when it looked as though they were not going to make it. The Indians were on the British side at that time, and it looked as though their efforts were going to fail. An old Indian chief later wrote about this man called George Washington, and he said, our bullets from our rifles and from our weapons found them all, but we couldn't drop the man called George. Not once but twice. In one battle, his horse was shot out from underneath him, and he got on another one. When the battle ended that day and we had won, there were 5 bullet holes in his vesture and his garments, but not one wound in his body. History records that. You can believe the liars. You can believe the liars, but history records that he was a man of the Spirit and a man of faith. Bill of Rights has put together the rights of all men, we the people. I'll tell you something, it hadn't changed. It's still we the people. There stands in the harbor, how much longer, I don't know. She's going to stand, but there stands in the harbor of New York a lady with a torch. She stands for liberty and freedom. She stands to be sovereign over those who are sick of oppression and tyranny, and she beckons to the rest of the world. It bothers me that we have a hyphenated America, because there's no such thing. You're either American or you're not. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. It doesn't matter what side of the track you live on. It doesn't matter if you're the inner city or outer city. It doesn't matter if you're a Yankee or a Southerner. It doesn't matter if you're from the West or the East. If you're in this great country, you are an American. it's only been made possible because from that day till now, men and women have enlisted in our armed forces. And they enlist knowing that there is and always will be a possibility that duty and freedom will call, and men will leave the comforts of their homes and the comforts of this nation and the blessings of it, and they'll travel around the world, and they'll find themselves in God-forsaken wastelands. We have white tombstones that mark the landscape in many countries far, far from here. All we asked when we walked away and they were free, just give us a little burial plot. Just give us a little space that we can bury the men and women who died for your freedom. I'm afraid many of those nations have forgotten that. But we can't forget. We better not forget our veterans. We better not forget those that have fought. We better not forget those who have served America. There are some that are forgetting, but we will not. We thank you. We don't need a smaller military. We don't need a weaker military. We need a stronger military. Because the nations of the world, those who are our allies, they know that as long as America stays strong, as long as America holds up that freedom banner, that their back is covered. We're in a crisis in our world. Our allies are extremely distraught and concerned. Instead of building our military, we're trying to tear it down, tear it apart. Our allies worry because what's going to happen if America no longer is the power and the emblem of freedom for all of mankind? I'll tell you what, there's a dark cloud coming over our world of oppression. There's an army coming with swords drawn because they fall back on centuries of paganism and idolatry and violence and slaughter, and they think it's their place. It's their time now. They're looking for a Holy One to come among them, and that He is preparing the world to be dominated and conquered by them, sneaking in their laws in our country. We have governments and courts that are trying to find ways to, take away our freedom of speech, and that because somebody put out a little film or something about a prophet that has abused them for centuries. And it's all right to speak against Christ. It's all right to urinate on a picture of the Virgin Mary. It's all right to defecate on a picture of Jesus. It's all right. But say something against their whoremongering prophet. Say something against their whoremongering prophet. Child molester. That's what he was. Read history. No God that's a right God, that's the God of the Bible, would give men this right. And yet they believe it's their place to dominate this world. And without a strong America, they will do it. They outnumber us 1.2 billion. There's just a little over 300 and something million Americans, and many of them are not Americans. Many of us don't have anybody covering our back. But in this house, we have a God that covers our back. We're going to honor our veterans. I want Brother Kelton French to come. Amen. If you love America, let it be known this morning. If you love our veterans, let it be known this morning in this house. Amen.
If tomorrow all the things were gone, I worked for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife, Thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the men who died and gave that right to me. And I'd gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, Detroit down to Houston, and New York to LA. There's pride in every American heart. It's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the men who died and gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the men who died and gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't doubt I love this land. God bless the
Come on, she deserves it. She deserves it. Every bit of it. More of us need to do it and be proud of her. It ought to bring tears to your eyes when somebody desecrates it, when somebody burns it, when somebody tramples on it. Maybe before we can honestly say anymore, God bless the USA, we have to start saying, God forgive the USA.